let's produce some warm on the inside, even if it's not a super practical session. But let's try to make most out of it. Okay, so we are continuing in our topic on the MSP approach on or joint care with the spine. That's the topic of today. And this little intro on the spine, as we see the spine. So we have three parts of the spine: the lumbar spine, the cervical spine, and the chest spine. And we can label them as mobility or stability prone, like the mobility-stability continuum. And the lumbar spine is, from its character, a mobile joint. The chest spine, from its character, a stability prone joint. And the cervical spine, from its character, mobility prone joint. Could you check this by yourself? Could you just move your segment of the spine, not the. Hello, Sylvia. Hi, Philip. So we will already talk a bit about the spine. My task is: would you try to move your spine and feel by yourself whether you can place it in the drawer of mobility or place it more in the drawer of stability? Yeah. So lumbar spine, chest spine, and cervical spine. There is no characteristics of, if you have all these characteristics, then it's a stability prone joint. If you have all these characteristics, it's a mobility prone spine. There are joints like the knee. Knee has a characteristic of being stable and bend and flex. A bit of rotation, a bit of minimal side bending in a flex position. Or the hip is a joint that you can, if you see martial artists or prima ballerinas, they can do everything with the hip joint. So it's quite obvious. In the spine, it gets a bit more difficult. Yeah, but Elisa, what is your? Could you go back to neutral, not taking whatever you've read and learned, but just say objectively, when you are moving, trying to differentiate between these three segments of the spine, how does it feel?
The lumbar feels more mobile. The mid spine feels more stable, and the top, the cervical, feels more mobile.
Thank you. So that's exactly this is your objective and not subjective opinion, right? So it's just what you felt. Okay, I think we agree. Just this, there's an existing mobility stability continuum from Michael Boyle and from Gray Cook, and this continuum is first of all, it's limited. It has just the ankle, the knee, the hip, the spine, and the shoulders as construction sites. Yeah. The other one is that we have joints. They are not taken into respect, like the ISG joint, for example. There are joints like the hands, the fingers, whatever. And the joints that are, let's say, the lumbar spine is coined as a stability prone, and this is a contradiction to my version. And if you look at the reasoning for it, then they have a mixed reasoning. The mixed reasoning means that they are mixing up, like according to us, hip joint is mobile, and in their perception, the lumbar spine has stability prone. My interpretation of this, that they are treating the joints like they are actually in the problematic state we have as grown-ups. And then they coin the lumbar spine as stability prone, and the job is to mobilize it. Yeah, the same with the hip. Most people lack hip stability. Yeah, that means it's hypermobile in a way, or not hypermobile. It's lacking stability. This is why functional movement system is calling it stability prone, mobility prone, because it is lacking mobility, and it's getting tight in stability. So there is a problem in the continuum. It is not a continuum because they are skipping joints, which, if we take in our perspectives, are perfectly fitting and fulfilling this continuum. Yeah. Did anybody look at this joint by joint approach or mobility stability continuum? Mike and Sylvia, have you looked at it? Just quick feedback.
I'm not here, but I learned it in America. It's the same.
Oh. Okay, so there's not a misunderstanding. I just take it differently. I don't know, and I don't understand the too much logic of a functional movement system. I just interpret that they take the lumbar spine as stability prone because it is the status quo of most grown-ups. But we take the mobility as its anatomy is, and without this lifestyle tightening up. So that means we have the spine is into actually more regions. We've got the ISG joint. The ISG is very tight. It's stability prone, which means it needs a specific mobility, but its normal job is stabilizing. The lumbar spine is a very mobile joint. It has to move a lot into different directions, but it also has to stabilize a lot. But out of this of the anatomy, it gives a lot of range of motion possibilities. The chest spine has it is already quite from the bones and from the vertebrae already getting into a stability prone joint. It means some stuff is overlapping, prevents from overextension. The cervical spine is prone from sitting into flexion and getting tighter and tighter and tighter. It has not so much possibilities to side flex. It has not so much possibilities to rotate in relation to the cervical spine and the lumbar spine. The lumbar spine, the cervical spine is clear, right? It's unbelievable mobile prone. Yeah? The shoulders are mobile prone, and the shoulder blades play an intermittent role. They can stabilize the arm onto the chest, and they also need to give the arm itself a lot of stability. So on the chest spine side, the shoulder blade has a stability role. On the arm side, it has a mobility role. So that's the only, and it's not a joint. It's just a bone that is sitting on the chest, and it has some stuff where you can hang the arm in. Yeah, so it is a nice hybrid thing. Okay, and this taking into respect, we are building the MSP approach on top of it. So we are taking the grown-up, and we are observing that the grown-up is missing mobility anywhere. And this is why we always start with mobility first. And this is what maybe some of the coaches were not that clear about, that, okay, we have a grown-up person with a specific problem and a suffocating joint. The joint is too tight. That means it needs to be get some flexibility into it. This is what we do with flexibility. That means muscles getting a bit more soft. And with mobility, that means that joints can have a bigger range of motion. And if there is a specific improvement, we need to treat it like it's built. And this is in the lumbar spine. Still mobility. Mobility is the most important part. Priority number one. but we always have priorities 2 and priorities 3 that never came just 3 months later. It's maybe within one session. We put the priority for the spine on mobility, and then we give it a portion of stability, and then we give it a portion of pattern. Yeah? So it will not be left alone with the mobility part, which is dangerous in the end. We need to immediately put the mobility into an environment where it can be controlled again by stability and not just panic tension. And the same with a chest spine. So the first thing is we need mobility, and if you know, the chest spine from sitting has a hyperkyphosis, and the mobility means priorities into extension, and in the same way also side bending, rotation, because we can something that is just used like this. We cannot just force into an upright position. We need to take into account all the possibilities of their movement, because if you're doing side bending as well as rotation, it will always also improve the extension or the goal in the end. Okay, the same with a cervical spine. We need to get the muscles softer. We need to give the cervical vertebrae a bit more range of motion, and then we need to stabilize it to give it back its stability that's needed to work against non-alignment and gravity. Okay, everybody okay with this that far? Okay, good. A next basic rule on when you mobilize a spine. As said, we have 4 possibilities, and there are the most important movements or the mobility is flexion and extension. This is the most important movements the spine is doing. Rotation and side flexion is a bit of a sideshow. This comes in when movements get more complex. It turned out in rehabilitation that if you have a spine that is tight, you should not start with stuff that is quite complex already in its movement. You should not start with side bending. You should not start with rotation. The first task at hand in a spine is flexion and an extension. If this is re-established, then you can add in side bending and rotation. Because this is something I read from several physiotherapy studies that I found out. Side bending is, especially rotation, is very difficult for the joint if it's already a bit of problematic. Okay, so now think about when you go into a fitness studio with a spine problem. I've worked about 15 years in a fitness studio. I studied it. You have all the machines there for spine rehabilitation. There's flexion, there's extension, there's side bending, and there's rotation. There's all machines there. And there's no trainer who tells you for the first 2 weeks, we'll just go for flexion and extension. And then if this is improved, you go for side bending and rotation. No, it's all treated equally. And this automatically leads into a problem. That comes later on to light, but we are a bit of a human mice. Everything is getting tested on us, and the complaints come later, and then nobody was responsible for it. Okay, so that's the most important part for the theory. So now we go for practical going through this. Not everybody is prepared for practice, right? The ones who are, take a foam roll, and we start with foam rolling. We continue with a bit of flexibility or softness, and then we go to mobility, stability, pattern parts. Okay, so the most important muscles that are responsible for the mobility part is the hip. It means everything that has to do with the hip. The hip needs to be free, so the hip can de-stress the lumbar spine. The lumbar spine needs to be free, and the stuff that is in the shoulder part can be made soft also to bring the tension there, so the lumbar spine gets more chance to be brought back into its normal alignment. So we talked about already the foam rolling exercises. Just go a quick overview. So you get into the hamstrings. The hamstrings are responsible for a tight hip and a tight spine. You go both sides. I just demonstrate short the possibilities. Yeah. Inside, like this one. Yeah. So maybe if you have less time, you're not concentrating on the knee part. You concentrate on the groin part. Like this. And you go into the quads. You go up until there is a little groove inside. Yeah, there is a protrusion of a joint, and the muscle is already here. There's a little groove. You can nicely put some pressure with the foam roll into that. It's just this little movement here. You don't need to do the ITB band because it's mostly connected to the knee. Yeah, but you go into the glutes. You give the glutes a bit of a stretch, and then you go into pressing into the stretched muscle, or muscles, or muscle tissue to get more, a bit deeper. Yeah. Okay, so that's just one side. Should I do the other one also? Just not to bring me into asymmetry, or is it okay? Is it okay to go on with the lumbar spine? Okay, so then let's go into the lumbar spine. We already were talking about this. So easy rule of thumb is bring it symmetrically to your ISG joint, then go down with one elbow, and then you are a bit sideways to the spine, and you go for the muscle that is called erectus spinae. Not directly onto the spine itself, but onto this muscle pipe on one side and on the other side. Good. Then we have the chest spine. Foam rolling the chest spine with an emphasis on muscle softness. So you need to press the muscles out backwards by flexing the spine like this. Yeah, so you have the spine flexed, and now you roll over the chest spine. Like this. Now, I think it needs to be really, really tight to get some feelings into the fascia. The last one is the latissimus. The latissimus is spanning the whole back, and the latissimus is involved in hyperlordosis, can be involved into hyperkyphosis in the spine. If you see climbers like boulder or top rope climbers, which do a lot of stuff out of the pulling, they get a massive latissimus, and this latissimus is actually pulling them forward into a position like this, like sitting. Yeah. So this muscle is a very important spine muscle. Yeah. You go for the rolling sideways, can be very sensitive if you want to progress in the pressure or intensity. You can start with having some weight on your triceps, on your arm, and if you get some progress, some softness, you can slowly extend the arm up like this, and this would be the end of the game. If you can roll over like this, then it should be quite good. In my fitness studio working time, I just give you this information that people. Okay, there was the time when we introduced foam rolls. It's about maybe 20 years back. And we were foam rolling here. This was very sensitive with most people. And I started or I just did something like pull-ups or whatever. And I found out that as soon as I started with pull-ups, the sensitivity of this muscle waned away. That means if I put my arms and my chest and this muscle in its natural context, the problem fades away anyway. It means it's just people who are sitting all day on the desk, they get shortening and decay of the myofascial structure, and they get a lot of pain when they roll this. But if you get a little stretch and a little of natural movement in it, this sensitivity, negative sensitivity of this muscle disappears by itself. Okay, last one is the chest spine mobilization. The difference between foam rolling the muscles, as said, was flexing maximally, pressing the back out, and then rolling over it. What is more important for us is that this tight spine needs to be broken up into an upright direction again. That means we need to apply some force that gives us the possibility to work against this hyperflexion. And what you can do is that you bring the foam roll about between the shoulder blades. You are engaging your core. You have your butt down, so the lumbar spine is stable while you are extending the chest spine like this. So you bend the chest spine, you extend the chest spine. You can really load it like this. And with the opening of the arms, you have also some help from the shoulder blades pressing onto the chest, onto the ribs, with an effect on the chest spine vertebra. So you can do a bit of a bending and extension, then you shift a bit your body weight so the foam roll gets a bit higher or a little bit deeper, and then you take another segment or a portion of segment. Like this. Okay? So this would be like a preparation. Or a little routine you do every morning. You can also, foam rolling something can also be isolated. Good. Then let's start with lumbar spine mobility. So as said, we start in supine line with the thought of the less we are bringing tension to our body, the easier it is for us to improve mobility. That means compensation-free movement. So as said, first would be flexion as priority number one. So this very soft feeling of lifting one vertebra after the other from the ground. And then you get an idea about your personal state. Is it flexible? Can you flex it? It means you should be able to roll it up quite nicely. Or is there a flat part, a tight part that comes up like one block, which makes the movement much more difficult? Okay, the extension is the next one. So we don't extend to have more extension. We extend to have a combination of flexion and extension that bring more movement into the lumbar spine. So you can lift your butt correctly out of the glutes, but what we do is we are lifting the butt under the extension of the lumbar spine. So very carefully overextend the lumbar spine and bring it down again. So relax it, you extend it. Relax and extend. Good. So next one would be rotation. If there's no problem with rotation, do it. It has not the highest priority, but in the end it needs to be added. So you do this sideways rotation. There's also a little progression trick. If you have your feet like this and you go from side to side, there's not so much leverage weight, so this is less rotative force on the spine. If you are closing it and also take one foot with the other one, the leverage is much bigger. The effect on the lumbar spine is much higher. If you want to include the chest spine, for example, then I would always use the arm like stretching out like this, where you have both arms stretched up like this and do the rotation. Then the hip rotation lifts the shoulder a bit, and there's a stretching feeling into the shoulder. That means also into the chest spine. Okay, what you also can do is this contralateral movement or this vice versa movement. The legs go this way, the head goes this way. So with every movement, you have a spiral movement from side to side, and the whole spine, inclusive the chest spine, is also getting mobilized. So if you can integrate, do it. Okay, so we go into side rolling. Yeah, so the side rolling is interesting because it has a very stability proud. It's a stability proud movement. But what we are doing is with the head mobility, so the cervical spine, and then the whole flexion also of the rest of my spine, bring me into the rolling movement as well as the extension. Extension of cervical spine, the arm, its effect on the shoulder blades, their effect on the chest spine, work on the extension. Also from prone to supine, you're focusing on the shoulder blades and arm as leading the rotation. When you are going from supine to prone, you focus on the head and the abdominals to bring you into this rotation. Yeah, if you have a very fluent opening and closing, this very soft movements should crack something up more easily than really intense stuff. Okay, then we meet in the prone line, and we go for mobility of the lumbar spine and cervical spine in the hand press up. So if you just go for the hand press up, this would be a soft work into lumbar spine extension. If you are here and you are working with the shoulder blades now, especially this protraction and retraction in this position, you're working on the cervical spine. The chest spine. If you add also the head, means when you are bringing your chest spine down, your shoulder blades close above the chest spine. You are extending the cervical spine. When you are getting the tension out of the shoulder, you are using the flexion, the bending of the cervical spine. So it's this movement. Do the movement and focus mentally on the body parts and also on the thing you want, the mobility, stability, or pattern motor control. Okay, a bit of a combination that is already advanced would be that you are also getting into a side lying while being supported like this. So this is now the side flexion of the spine. If you are using, for example, the hips leading like this, and the upper body comes later a bit, then you have also rotation. So you have a lot of stuff at the same time. This is very important for a healthy spine. This can be a problem in already problematic spine if you combine a lot of different directions. So in this movement, you have the extension, you have the side bending. And if you would go into the long sit, you would have the flexion like this. Then you can continue side bending, extension. So it's a side rolling movement, hand supported, with a priority mobility. Okay, and I hope everybody is sure about, clear about this, that we cannot isolate the mobility. We try to focus on mobility, but there is always the other stuff included. There's a lot of stability included while we are moving through this. It needs to protect the spine. Yeah, but under this protection, that means there are stuff that is shortening. At the same time, it is drawn into extension. It means the muscle learns to shorten while there is extension, and it extends it while there is shortening. And this is important, that the muscle can adapt to the different stuff. It's needed not just one, just shortening or just extending. Okay, let's come to sitting. Side bend sit, for example. So the spine is a victim of hip mobility. This is part of the new transition position part of the trainer certification, the new one on Cert, that we have the possibility to work on stuff while being static. The sitting position is normally a resting position. When the hip is naturally mobile, it would be flat on the ground, and everything else is nicely balanced against gravity. That means it would be a relaxed position. If there is a mobility issue, for example, in the hip, we get out of alignment, and now our spine has to work here. And this is a problem for the position itself, but it is a possibility to train the stuff already in the position. Good, so we're getting into an inclination like this. So if you are working with your spine into the direction that is the optimum sitting position, we are working on side flexion, strength or stability, and at the same time on mobility of the hips. So we have two things together. That means if you combine them because they fit perfectly, this lacking mobility is getting into an asymmetries or whatever here, and you can combine both immediately in one exercise. If you want to split them again, then you would have to prop something underneath, like this, and then you can start to move the spine like this without the connection of the hip. So you could work on strength of the spine, like the lumbar spine, by just sitting in flexion and extension of the lumbar spine, the side bending of the lumbar spine, as well as the rotation of the lumbar spine. So this would be active mobility or more stability. That's already tightening up. Okay, if you now include the reaching, you can add more for the chest spine. It means the chest spine also needs mobility, stretching a bit in the front, and more strength in the shoulder blades to get closer to the spine. And if you are doing the reaching movement like this, you are including a lot of input for the spine. If you add, for example, the strength of the arm, holding yourself already in a rotation, and then reach back, you have again more mobility effect. The strength and the stability of the spine is taken over by our arm, so you have much more possibility to just focus on the mobility part. And do everything you can imagine. Reach up, reach over, reach forward. This is all spine. This is already a very complex movement, but you could say you reach forward for the flexion improvement, you reach upward for the extension improvement, you reach sideways with one or with the other for side bending improvement, and you reach into rotation for the rotational movement. Okay, good. Then let's come into the kneeling. It's about the same as in sitting, but the hips are out of the mobility game. So you can do everything much more free because you have not the hip that is limiting you. The same here. Okay, and now the higher you get into the kneeling positions, so this now is not much improving the spine work, but it is combining the spine work you were doing with the hip stability. That means if you want a combination of both, then you can start in sitting. A lot of mobility here in the spine, as said, active stability with the movement. If you want to have stability in the hip and the same up, you're just going into this movement, into this position, to all these positions. Open half kneeling, closed bend kneeling, and now starting with the spine mobilization like this. This will stabilize the hips. Okay, and then we meet in the tall kneeling. This is just replacing now the standing position also, because we want to have a differentiation between the hip hinge movement for the heavy stuff. That means the spine needs to be strong. So it may look like that my lower back muscles are doing a lot of static work, and the hips are doing the mobile work, but the stability of the spine is always from all sides. The stability now is not just the part that looks like the working part. This part works like static strength. The rest works on static stability, protecting the spine from all sides. So this in differentiation to this one. Do you have an idea whether there's some wrong or some right, some correct or some false? This is not wrong, and this is also not wrong. But what is the difference? So this is a pattern and also an aligned movement, aligned in the position of or in the transition of lifting. But there can also be a lifting like this. This would be a not aligned lifting. And the difference is that this one is a very strong movement. For very loaded movements, you need to have weak parts stable. So the whole spine. And there are movements like just going down like this, and very lightweight, getting up like this. It's much more efficient to lift something light up like this than like this. This is an exaggeration. This is overperforming for a pencil or something like this. For pencil, you should be able to go down like this. So if someone who picked up a pencil and got a prolapse out of this is a common phenomenon. So this is for the conventional fitters a very strange situation. Why can the spine get a problem if you just lift up a pencil? This doesn't fit somehow. Others are lifting 300 kilograms with it. It's because the spine is in a mess. It is a mess, and whatever you do with this messy situation, your spine is always close to a collapse, to a major thing. So, and the difference between the heavy lifting technique or the light lifting technique is that if you are in this aligned position, like this hip hinge movement, then there is stuff already stabilized because of the movement, because of your instinctive intelligence. Yeah, if I do this position, this is made for heavy stuff. I have to tense up because I expect some heavy stuff. Yeah. The same with lifting up something light. Your body will say, there is something light. I don't have to engage all the stuff because I want to save some energy. Yeah? And this is the problem. If your nervous system is not aware of the messy situation of your spine, so it means lifting something up with a round back like this means less tension, means less safety, means higher probability for getting something is happening on the wrong side. Yeah, that means if you have a erect spine, it would be wise to do the high intensity lifting technique. If you have a healthy spine, it would be wise to do this and that, to be able to do both without any problem of your spine and your brain. Yeah, and also that you if you do it, you always know very early if a problem is emerging. That's also very important. That's one of the most important stuff of the whole natural movement system, because we are using our body in all possibilities. That means if in one detail of all these possibilities there is some decay or some problem, we detect it very early. Yeah. Normal fitness is using maybe, let's just say, 20% of the possibilities, and in the case some percentage of the unknown 80% possibilities are used, it could be that there is a problem all of a sudden, because we are not prepared. And this is the stuff. If you have your little routine every day that is checking the checkbox for all of your body, you will be warned for a problem quite early, and you can prevent it in the earliest stage. Yeah, this is very important. So we need to work in alignment and also out of alignment, because both things are necessary. Also in this lifting exercise. Okay, so I think we're about the most important stuff through the mobility and stability. And now I would like to go into, and this is why I kept the crawling out of this equation, because crawling is something, and this is another aspect that applies to all the joints. We have not just rotation or flexion, so this just is positive, or the one direction. We also have anti-rotation, anti-flexion in this stuff. That means the first one is the one I intentionally do. Yeah? I reach backwards, my spine has to rotate. And there is another case. Something is coming at me and it forces me to rotate. So an active movement or a passive movement. And especially in the spine, the rotation, this rotation, or all, it doesn't matter, all the possibilities, side flexion, bending, extension, and rotation have the first priority to withstand and not to do it. Yeah. Withstanding means it's a protection. Yeah? Something is coming at you and you have to catch it without your spine is getting broken completely. So the first thing is protection. The second thing is action. If you can protect it, you can act it. If you cannot act it, you will not properly protect it. And this is what I call anti-flexion, anti-rotation. And this is in all joints the same. It means you need to be first able to withstand getting out of these positions or using the joint. That means the stability. And after this, you should work on mobility to get into active movements. This is why we're already, the guys who are in the coaching for quite a while, also got the information on the stability cascade. And the stability cascade has also a bit of a discrepancy. we have the reflex stabilization and the local stabilization at the beginning, but in between there is mobility. And this is what we were talking about. I'm quite sure that stability in the end is more important than mobility, because stability means safety and mobility means freedom. And before our nervous system is granting us freedom, it needs safety. Without the safety, it will never say yes to an adventure. Yeah, that means if somebody has a mobility problem, and this is also out of science, whatever I read, also mostly out of function movement system. If somebody has a mobility problem, it could be that it's actually a stability problem, just looking like a mobility problem, because your body would grant you the mobility, but it cannot. It needs to protect itself first. And if you are breaking up the protective reflex, then your nervous system will allow you to enjoy mobility. That means first there is have to work on reflex stabilization. Then you get a bit of a confidence of your body. Now give me more, and then you can give him a bit of mobility. And with this mobility, we then also build up the local stabilizers and global stabilizers. So there is something that is called more stability, which comes before flexibility and before mobility. It would be logic of survival in the end. Yeah. So this is why the anti-rotation, the anti-flexion is something that could be the key for better mobility, and also something that comes a bit later after the therapy we are doing with the MSP to be prepared for life-saving events like falling, like just falling. Yeah. It makes no sense to just mobilize your ankle, because they say you need mobility when you're falling down. It is more important to stabilize the shoulders and the spine and your hips before you fall flat on the ground. Okay? Yeah. There's also something maybe you think about there's a homework. Think about the saying that a drunken person never hurts itself. Right? There are exceptions, definitely, but this is an old saying that if someone is drunken, he falls down, let's say 2 meters, he breaks nothing. Yeah. If somebody would be sober and falls down 2 meters, everything would be broken. But there is something in our nervous system that maybe works better in a drunken situation than in a sober situation, because in a drunken situation, the reflexes are again free to act, which are actually maybe tight or whatever, switched off in a fully mental awake state. Think about it. This is an interesting thing, actually. Okay, so let's work the last 10 minutes on anti-rotation. So this would be perfect with some person who is cueing you. This is great for personal training. For example, you know all the stuff that you are maybe holding your arm and somebody is pressing down, right? This would be anti-rotation. Yeah? This would be the rotation of the joint. Yeah? This would be anti-rotation in both directions. And this is the most important part in crawling. So when we are in crawling, and it starts again very soft. If I'm putting away one point of support, yeah, you see nothing in me. Right? There is no reaction of my center of gravity to this, because the rest is strong enough. If there would be no reflexive stability in my body, it would look like this. I would break into this point of support, because it takes fractions of a second to react to not do this. This the same here. You could just get rid of the point of support. It would look like this. If I know the point of support is getting away, I can build up stability. And all of these movements here, this is anti-rotation. This is the body protects itself. So please just feel it, and also maybe train it. Give it the information of there is no protection. I'm collapsing in. Let it collapse a bit and then catch it later, catch it earlier, and then try to have no collapse at all. And then feel how your body weight is shifting to the strong points of support. This is one strategy. That means leverages are getting shortened to reduce the energy that is pulling you down. And for the rest of the show, your muscles have to tighten up. And that's mostly local stabilizers and global stabilizers that are getting tight to prevent you from collapsing. Ah, nice. Okay, do the same in an inverted scroll position. Do the same. Pretend the collapse like this, and then start to stabilize it like this. Now, I'm sure if you're pretending a collapse, your nervous system will be better prepared in the actual collapse than if you're just doing the static stability body weight shift. Because in the one, much more finer stuff is working than in the other. When you just stabilize, there's already really a lot of tension in it. The global stabilizers mostly. If you pretend a bit of a collapse, then these global stabilizers stay out of the game, and the local stabilizers or even the reflexive stabilizers have a chance to react. Just regulating down some volume on the bus boxes to have the high speakers better. I think that's a good comparison. Right. So this would be the beginning of this stability as an anti-reaction. And this then also transfers into, we had this already, that we are pretending the break fall, for example. So you can start like this, just walking out and laying down. This would be big stabilizers and big also strength dimension is a good preparation. The rough stuff gets already prepared. The little stuff maybe has no reason to get switched on. Yeah. Now you start to do this not with walking out. So this little reflexes, anti-mobility or anti-flexion or whatever. And now you get the impact always a little bit more intense. Yeah? So the next would be that you are sliding out. But you're not walking out. You are sliding out like this. It's very easy quite easy to down regulate or up regulate. Yeah. And from here, you would it's called a sprawl in MoveNet. You would go forward, catch yourself, and decelerate. So very very close to the ground, forward, just a little impact, and decelerate. And then you can bring this up super progressively. You can start here, a bit more impact. Now you can start here, even more impact. Now you can start here, even more impact. Now in the end you can start in standing and having the real impact feeling. Okay, so in a life-saving situation, it would be completely uninteresting whether you break your wrists or whatever. The most important thing is that you protect your head and you protect your chest, your intestines. That's always the thing you need to rescue. Everything else is just not that necessary for survival. Yeah, that means okay. If you would like to hurt yourself as little as possible, it would be great to get everything back that is necessary. The proper wrist mobility, the proper shoulder stability, the proper spine stability. This is something you can really prepare all details. Yeah. And this maybe is interesting for some people who just want to protect themselves when crashing down. But if you tell somebody there is not just the crashing down is a problem, but the whole process of what your body is doing while crashing down. And if you want to crash down and stand up and look like nothing happened, and except to somebody who has broken his 2 legs or whatever, there's a bit more details to take care of. Yeah. So shoulder stability, wrist mobility. This would be then necessary to stand up again after the landing on the ground. Okay, so I think this is very important to convey when we talk about joint MSP, that there is mobility, stability pattern, as said, but especially the joint is a good proposal or a good example for also working on this on antimatter. It's also interesting. We like in astrophysics, right? We have the matter and we have the antimatter. Don't tell me the system is not holistic. It's holistic and universal. Good. Any questions on this? I know it's quite difficult, but I think that's just a thing of growth. If you're going for MSP, that's sufficient, and just have the anti stuff in your back head that this is also important. You have an endless list of stuff to teach, to train, and to keep people happy and yourself. So good. Any question, please?
It seems logical to me.
Good. Mike, did you hear stuff of this already in some of your?
Yeah, but I like more your exercises. And what you told us about the so the protection, I was thinking about how it was working. So when you, because I have an ankle spring, do you say it like this in English? So, but I had this when I was 12 years old, so all the muscles were tight, and so the whole thing you talked about to loosen this before strength and mobility. So first, all these steps I can understand. It's tight because of safety, and then you should loosen it, and then you can bring it back to the normal situation. I was thinking also about the thing that if you don't do this, you compensate on other
joints,
muscles, joints and muscles in your body, and this gives after many years problems. So
right. Yeah, right. And my proposal would be that this MSP is just the most important stuff. This is easy to apply, easy to understand. And if this is working, this is already breaking up a lot of stuff that maybe is unknown or is then finer. But then if you say, I have a special person, it has a special age, it has a special job, it has a special sport, then you have to think he needs something that nobody else is offering. Actually, this deeper intelligence of our organism. Then you start to apply stuff like this. Yeah. Like for grown-up people, it would be super sufficient if you just go for mobility. You don't have to say, "I'm here to protect you from your deathly fall." That comes later. This is something you then just by the way, introducing into the training. You say, now we have all this mobility work on all of the parts, and now we bring it into theater. Yeah, that means now comes the show. What is the actual performance of this stuff? And then you can say, okay, it's getting up from the ground, it's crashing down to the ground, it's whatever garden work, lifting up something heavy, or whatever. Then you can say, analyze what you are doing, and then we introduce not just rough, but also fine stuff, depending always on the question. So you really need to understand that there is a unbelievable big possibility of tools, and you can just approach them bit by bit. First layer, second layer, and we actually have indefinite layers. That's the good thing of it. Good. Okay. Yeah, Alistair.
I have a question in regards to the foam rolling. In the event that a person is not, like, they're quite deconditioned, that they can't support their own weight with their hands on the ground.
Correct.
Is there any reason that they couldn't use, like, their hands? I'll use the specific example. There's a lady I know, she has been rolling her feet using a rolling pin.
Yeah.
Seems to work really well. She doesn't want to get anything, foam made in China, whatever. So she was using a foam roller for at least the feet from standing, because that's something she can do. She's nearly 70. Now, I was wondering about, like, okay, for the, not so much the back yet, but like just even getting the thighs, the calves, etc., like the leg. Is there anything wrong with using that manually? Can it still be used kind of in the same way, with obviously watching for the feedback of if there's any pain, and ideally moving towards the heart as to down towards the feet?
Definitely, also a good rule of thumb. Yeah.
Okay.
There's devices that are especially made for people like this. You have from functional movement systems or whatever, something like this, but it's just a thick metal that you can bend a little bit, and then there are tubes on it that can turn around. So you're not scratching and sliding over your skin, but you're actually still rolling over your skin. I can send you a picture of the professional device, but there's also something, people who are so deconditioned that they even cannot hold themselves onto a foam roll, something like this manual. Yeah, perfectly. There's a lot of stuff on the market. Great. Yeah. That this device has not a lot of pressure, but this little pressure is already enough to give them some effect. And if they cannot apply the pressure to get some effect, then they may be that far that they can dare to go into a foam roll. But you can also have balls or whatever and go against the wall for something like this, or also foam roll against the wall would be possibilities. The pressure is not very good, but there is a theoretical introduction to rolling your muscles. And if they get a bit of a feedback of this, as we know, if you are convinced the brain of the stuff, how it works, then the counter reaction of your brain when you go down to the ground is much less. If you give them some theory, half intensity or against the wall. Right. There was something I wanted to mention in this. Yeah. Let's leave it like this. Okay. Good. I wanted to mention, before foam rolls were invented, I've been in a physiotherapy, maybe 1996 or something. The foam rolls came with Mark Verstegen. Do you know Mark Verstegen? It was an American athletic trainer who was recruited by Jürgen Klinsmann. That's a German national trainer for the national football team. And he used this, Mr. Klinsmann, our trainer, used Mark Verstegen as the athletic trainer for the German National League, and he introduced the foam roll with them. And from this on, the foam roll was going through the roof. And the production of 3 cents sold for 30 euros. It's also one of the biggest profit machines ever. But for me, it's the most precious gadget of the whole fitness industry. So it's fully worthwhile. And this lady in the physiotherapy, she was telling me that she knew a very old physiotherapeutic woman. The physiotherapist, she was 25, and she knew a lady who was over 60, old physiotherapist, and she told her about the foam rolling already. So this was in the 90s, and this lady says they used this in the 30s, 40s already. They used a brick, a part of wood, like you did, tight wood, and they put a handkerchief on it, just laying it on top of it, so it was not that hard, and then they had to roll over it. So that means the foam roll, or the effect of the foam roll, is invented maybe 100 years ago. But just in a different kind, not that high tech, super sophisticated, easy plastic stuff, but more difficult, more for the hard people, not for our wimps running around nowadays, but for the really peasants and craftsmen. They could stand wood.
There's also, may I say something?
Yeah,
because
please.
there's also the gouache. It's very well known and for anti-aging for the face. You do it with some spoons, some tiny spoons. But actually, it comes from the Chinese tradition to do it with the arms or the meridians.
Yeah,
and
right.
you do it with a spoon in direction of the meridians, and it brings like little petitia, like little
injuries,
blood, bruises, and it gives your your fascia and everything, and gives you like healing.
Yeah, right. It's also animating the lymph flowing when you not go too deep. So this is millennia old wisdom, thankfully transported by some, rescued from the past into the new age, but they knew it all. Yeah. It's nobody invented anything. It's always just copy and paste. Okay, thank you, Anke. That's great. That's the old stuff transported into new stuff. Good, because a little history is always good in between to know where we're coming from. Good. Okay, I think that's good for today. Thank you very much for your input at the end. That's always very precious. Looking forward to next Monday, if you like, for a bit of a class, and next Tuesday for, again, some discussions and infos.